So Rishi Sunak, I believe that's the way you pronounce it, a man that a lot of people dislike at the moment and for varying reasons, but predominantly reason being is because he is hurting us. Hurting us in our pocket, hurting us at the petrol pump, and there's no need for it. Now, I'm going to put up some prices of barrelage over the years from, I think, in 1976, year after I was born. Oof, well, anyway, and it will show you how the oil prices have gone up and down. Now, some of you have lived obviously longer than me and some of you have lived shorter than me, but you'll notice that when you went to the pumps what the price did. What's interesting to note though is I believe at about 2010, 2011 it was costing us more to buy a barrel back then, but it was significantly cheaper at the pump than it is now. Why is because you're being forced into getting electric cars, and let me tell you this, as soon as you get the electric cars, they're going to lump all the taxes that they put on you before, with petrol engines, diesel engines, etc, etc. The trick is to get you to think that buying green or buying into the green thing is all a great thing, because at the moment everything's all about going green, and when they've trapped you there, well, they're going to use your car as a mobile power source at night, because they're going to change all the ways that you charge at home. You won't be able to charge in the traditional manner. You can't just plug it into the house. There'll be a separate thing where the grid can draw electric off your vehicle, therefore reducing the life of your battery, because they'll draw it off quite quickly in your rapid charge. I've talked about this before. So that's one reason, because at the moment the system doesn't have any means of storing power. It has to dump the power that it overproduces, and I don't know how it does that, but this is what I'm led to believe. So wouldn't it be a great idea if they could store it, and you'll pay for it, and then take it off you in times of need, and then give it back to you when they can overproduce? I'm guessing that's the theory. Also, it's the latest thing. The Century of Self, we've talked about this many times, but what it explains is how they teach you that you need the next best thing, because all the time you're consuming, you're making globalism huge tons of money. Now what they'll do is they'll get to a stage where they'll then enforce that battery powered vehicles are bad. I mean, somebody put a meme up the other day, and this is interesting to think about. You see a massive coal train going towards a power station. It says fuel for electric cars, but this is obviously one of the things. I mean, most of our power stations are powered by gas, I will admit. There are some that are powered by coal, there are some nuclear, but it's a bit of a myth that to think that electric cars are great for the environment. They're not. If you look at the means they mine the cobalt in the third world country, if you saw how it was done, you wouldn't want to touch an electric car. It's done a lot more ethically in America, I'm led to believe, and there's other parts of the world that it is, but nevertheless, there isn't enough cobalt to supply what their demands are. Spoke to a guy with an electric car yesterday, and he couldn't curse it enough, and it was a Toyota, and he said these things are supposed to be brilliant, but it's absolutely pants. He says, not just that, I can only tow 750 kilos with it, and it massively reduces the life of the battery. I'm like, oh, as a thought, not really thought about that. I had a thought today as well, because I might mention that I want to get a classic Capri. Now some of you are going to laugh, but laugh at this. At 40 years old, I don't have to get an MOT for it, right? I don't have to get taxed for it. And my insurance is now £89 for the year. Not so fucking funny now, is it? So for the price I'm going to pay extra at the pump, I'm going to miss out on all of that other stuff. And the fact that I'm fossil myself means I hardly pay any insurance. But going back to Sunak, something that you may not know, that he's married in, his wife, their family, are one of the richest families in the world. Allegedly, they have more money than the Queen, if you go by the statistics that Google would offer you, although I do believe the Queen has significantly more money than it actually says on Google. However, he's now, one of his mansions, a few £1 million mansion, I think it's in Yorkshire or somewhere like that, he's having a new swimming pool built. And it's got pictures of him at a fuel pump, and I don't think he's really worried about the price of how much a litre of fuel costs. I mean, he's reduced it 5 pence. Now this is a good cop, bad cop thing. I don't know if any of you have ever noticed. They take a huge amount off you, then they give you a little bit back, and they ask you to thank them for it. Well, it was never yours to take. Now the other interesting thing to note is that all of this stuff that you're dragging out the ground, some of you are religious, some of you are not, all right? I'm religious, right? God made it. So who deemed you the owner of everything and then decided to make the little man pay extra for what God gave us? Now, I understand there is a certain amount of expense in the exploration to find where the oil is, and then obviously building the kit and then extracting it from the ground and moving it from point A, point B. Get that, all right? There has to be a cost. I understand that. But not such a huge cost. I mean, we can talk about oil and the price of oil and getting it out of the ground, a bit like coal. But there are places in America that say that the water is theirs. It's not yours. You're not even allowed to store it. Who the fuck are these people? Who do they think they are? This planet is for all of us, but apparently not. Apparently everything that's on this planet has now got to be sold to you, all right? Now what is that if it's not a mafia? Don't the mafia take certain areas and certain resources and then say, if you wish to use this, you'll pay a tax? It's no different in my eyes. I understand that in this world there has to be things like law and order, right? Otherwise we'd have anarchy, and I don't want that. I understand that we need a government to take care of the day-to-day running of things. I understand that we need companies who are willing to invest to therefore come up with a resource that we can use. I get that. And I get that these things need paying for. But the greed, it's the greed that I can't take. And it's like, you'll look at...
I'm listening.
Do you mind? Sat-nav, you hear that? I'm listening. And there you are! You're like fucking Googling everything else, you spy. Bollocks, piss off. Excuse me. Having a domestic. So, I get that, but at the end of the day, I get that we've been massively ripped off and taken for fools. Do you realise that in some countries, if you save, in America, you save the water off your roof and put it into a water butt, you'll get done? You believe that? Now, I know that there are streams in the UK and rivers that used to run like really fast, really quite deep. And I've managed to reverse them in a 7.5 tonner now because the bed's almost dried out and there's a few rocks or whatever else. And I said to the local bloke, I said, it's always been like that. He said, no, you'd have never got across it years ago. He said, but the water company have decided they're having it. So that's exactly where it is. And I've got some bloke driving right up to the front of my truck now. Hello. So yeah, this is just one of those things I think I point out to you, that the massively rich, like Sunak, like other people, and if they weren't massively rich when they got into these positions of power, they are now. I mean, Jeremy Corbyn the other day, right, I had to say, and I digress here, but it's worth noting, that his stance on Ukraine is my stance on Ukraine. And you have to give people credit where it's due. I've put it into my Telegram channel, so go and have a look in there, it'll be in there. But I couldn't believe it. But he's another one that wants socialism and gets a multi-millionaire with plenty of houses. The hypocrisy is unbelievable. They'll sell to you anything that they think you want to hear. But secretly, they're all got a backhander going on somewhere, and they're all earning rather large amounts of money. And with large amounts of money, they forget where they came from. They forget the struggle. They forget what it was like to, do I fuel a car up this week, or do I put heating on? Do I go and get a little bit of extra shopping, or do I keep the house warm, or put electric on? And there's many people. I mean, this is not new. Some of you will remember in the 80s and the 90s that picture of an old granny sat in one room with a blanket over her and a 2-bar heater going, and she literally had spam and beans for tea because that's all she could afford. And we still have that now. We also have numerous amounts of ex-servicemen on the streets that nobody bats an eyelid. We have just people who are generally due a little bit of help getting nothing, and yet we've got numerous people coming into this country that don't deserve our help at all, and I wouldn't give them the steam off my piss. But yet they get fucking thousands thrown at them. Ask yourself this. If today I lost everything and I was a homeless person and I went to the council, how much help would I get, number one, and where would I be ranked? Well, I can tell you where I'd be ranked. At the bottom. Single, white, male. Scum of the earth. The fact that I've worked, paid into the system, right, it doesn't matter. You are on our checklist at the bottom. The people that govern us now have forgotten the fact that they govern by consent. They actually think that they own everything, they own us, and that we will do exactly what we're told. And For the most part, we do. But when they did this recently, when they made protesting illegal, well, that should have really rung alarm bells in the average person's mind. Why? We are not allowed to complain about what you're doing to us. What do you have planned for us? What is it that you're worried about in the future that needs to stop us coming out and saying that we're not happy about it? For me, the future, I'm excited about the future because we couldn't carry on like this, all right? And I said 3 or 4 years ago, you would have heard me say I'm sort of an accelerationist. The quicker this happens, the quicker we can get over with it, get it over and done with, and move on. No, I don't want a life like we used to have, which is full of lies in the media, full of lies at school, full of lies from the police, just from every part of the system that we looked up to and thought was good. We thought that if you went to hospital, you were only ever going to get looked after. Not now. No, if you're an old person, especially if you've got some, you're on a palliative care, they want you out of the way quick. I know this because I've had friends go in and get that kind of palliative care. Well, their family anyway. Yeah, I don't trust anything that's official these days. Now, you could call me paranoid, but I'm sat in front of you, fit and well. Now, I had a doctor years ago that put me on antidepressants. I know you're listening. He's doing it again. You believe that? I'm listening. Shut the fuck up. I had a doctor years ago that put me on antidepressants, and they just kept going. And there was never any talk about getting me off it. I had a drink problem. I had all sorts wrong with me. And I had to work out how to get it fixed. Because, to be quite frank, there was nothing out there really that, I mean, if you talk to a counsellor, the patronising, I just wanted to wring their throat. And the condescension. And then, your story is so sad, I really want to cry. I'll make you fucking cry. Anyway, you really do have to sort yourself out if you can, or rely on the people around you. And tough love is really quite important. But if you get there, I've got to be honest, it was a slow process, but I don't drink due to COVID. I know that sounds mental, but it's changed my taste buds so much that I had a curry last night I wouldn't have been able to eat years ago. Red hot, just didn't bat an eyelid. But I can't taste, or I can taste, but the alcohol taste, I don't like the taste anymore. Mad, isn't it? So I don't drink. And that's made a massive difference. But I come off the happy pills before winter and made it through the worst case. And now, it's lovely and sunny out there. And we have to be thankful for a lot, by the way, because when I turned off all the doom and gloom, and I came away from the people who were talking about the doom and the gloom, and I started listening to old music that I used to listen to and thought about stuff, my mood, picked up something terrible. Well, something good actually, that's the wrong way of wording it. And I'm really optimistic. And things are happening in life because I've planned them. And yeah, so all the doom and gloom, if you focus on that and nothing else, it will bring you down. Just remember, all of that will be there when you're dead and gone, all right? Unless a miracle happens and we get it fixed, all right? So bear in mind, don't consume all of your time with the doom and gloom, because it will consume you and it will break you, all right? Have some time for you. Remember what's going on, get involved if you can, but also put aside some time for you. You're not going to get any of this time back. Every minute that goes by is never coming back. You're on the sands of time at the moment, and it depends on how young you are as to how much sand you've got, whether at the top or at the bottom. And use your time wisely. You only get one go at this, unless you're a spiritualist and you believe you come back, but even so, on this particular sitting, you only get one go. So don't totally consume it with one thing and ruin it. Enjoy your time, all right? Get out there in the sun, enjoy it. I hate to say this because I would have never said it before, but I've started doing a bit of walking. It's amazing how much better it makes you feel. You get out there, you see all the stuff growing, you feel, yeah, it depends on where you go. I mean, I live out in the country, so you get the fresh air and you get to see all the animals and stuff like that, and you get to think. And if you just do a short walk, it says half hour a day, by the way. But the benefits, oh fuck me, it's amazing. It really is. I did my usual thing and went bollocks out and ended up doing 4.2 miles each day. But the benefits, oh yes. So just a thought, started out on a negative, ended on a positive. Don't know if I'll be able to do that in every video, but there you go. Anyway, look, thanks for watching, liking, sharing and subscribing. If I've got a shift tomorrow, which I probably will have, it will be probably unlikely I'll do a live stream. However, you never know. They might say we got nothing for you tomorrow, the bastards. And if so be it, I'll do a stream. All right? There you go. Anyway, nearly finished, I hope. I'll see you in a bit.